Morning everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm about to head out to a short run. It's going to be about 40 minutes, but I still need to do my dynamic stretch and hydrate, so I will be leaving in about half an hour. And as I was having my breakfast this morning, I thought, I have come a long way since I first started running a few months ago, and being the nerd that I am, I have done a lot of research and experimentation with my nutrition, and I got to the point where I'm very happy with my plan. So I thought I would share with you how I go about fueling for my runs, and also what I have learned over the past few months as I am now preparing for my half marathon that is coming in 6-ish weeks, I want to say. Right. First thing worth noting is when I first started running, I used to go fasted. The reason for that is that I am really not a morning person, still trying to work on that, but I have a very busy lifestyle. I have lots of things to do, and I do tend to be quite creative at night. So usually after the end of the normal work day, I can do quite a bit of work at night. I need to still work on that and find my balance, but the bottom line is usually when I wake up, if I want to go for a run, I don't really have the time to eat and wait for 2 hours and then go for my run, because then by the time I do all of that, it would probably end up being a lunchtime run. But what it meant is that for the first month or two of my running career, I just would go fasted. What I have noticed is that I'd come back ravenous, I'd come back feeling depleted, and probably halfway through the run, I just ran out of steam. So I definitely knew that it was important for me to start fueling, but at the same time, I know that I have a very sensitive stomach and that you need time to digest. So I'll let you know now what I have been doing and eventually what my fueling strategy became. So what I have been doing is first trying to get used to having something in me, even if it's not necessarily food. So I started first hydrating quite a lot, because this is something that I also have noticed. I did not hydrate enough. So the first thing I did is I started having hydration tablets, because these would have a mix of electrolytes, that's your salts, and also sugar. And I would just have one of these max hydration tablets in a water bottle, and I would sip it from the moment I wake up until the moment I leave the door. Then I started carrying some of that electrolyte and sugar water with me on the runs, and that definitely helped, because the hydration helps, because when you get the electrolytes in, even if you sweat, you don't have as many cramps if you're prone to cramps, and a tiny bit of sugar also helps me not tank completely. But obviously that wasn't enough. That was okay when I was doing my 30-minute, 40-minute runs, and then as I started doing a bit more of a sustained effort, I knew that it was not enough. So I did some research and also talked to other people in the running community, and discovered a brand called Maurten. So I will show you obviously all the things in my drawer at some point in the video, because I like organizing everything. I live in a small space, so I can't, how sometimes you see these videos and people open something and they have a whole thing just for supplements and stuff, or a whole closet just for their sports clothes. I don't have that luxury. I live in London and I live alone, which means that my flat is relatively small, but I make it work. You can see that there is quite a bit of stuff around, but I am in the process of making that work for me, and I'm quite happy with how organized I have become when it comes to my running stuff. So when I show you the things in my drawer, you'll see that at least 60% of that drawer is just nutrition. Going back to the Maurten products. So Maurten is, some people call it Maurten, but anyway, Maurten is a Nordic brand, and they have been they have benefited from a lot of publicity, because they have been sponsoring some of the top athletes in endurance sports, including Eliud Kipchoge, but also other athletes in trail, for example, and ultras. But their claim to success or to fame is the fact that they have everything geared towards performance with nothing more. So effectively, if you need fructose and you need glucose, I'm just making these things up, right? They will give you that and nothing else. So no flavoring, no fillers, no additional supplements than what you need for fuel. So the fuel is the most boring fuel that you could get, but at least it guarantees that you will not have something that upsets your stomach. And I'm very sensitive to these things. Like, first of all, besides the fact that a lot of things upset my stomach, and we'll get to that, I also hate most sweet things. I don't like artificial flavor, and I can't have strawberry milkshake. That thing just makes me gag. I can't have fake chocolate, fake coconuts, fake banana. Now, all of the additives are just something that just makes me gag, which means that a lot of the nutritional supplements that you find out there, especially those protein shakes and things like that, I can't even come near that. It just makes me nauseated. So the Maurten thing is very inoffensive. So I started buying these, but they are, I wouldn't say too expensive, because I think if you are an athlete, you get some sponsoring, you are paid to perform, so clearly it is worth it for you. But at least for me, I thought that they are rather on the pricey side, let's just say that. I started having the Maurten 160. It is a powder. You mix it in a bottle. You can have a bottle from Maurten that is like this. Now, the thing with Maurten is that, so you can mix it in a bottle like this, 500 milliliter for the 160 drink mix, and I will put how much calories and carbs you get in it. But the thing is that you have to mix it with water that has under 40 milligram per liter of calcium. And I never even noticed that. And you go and you try to buy, you think, okay, so do I need to buy some fancy water or something like that? Because obviously there is no way I could test my tap water, because I just have a Brita filter, right? And then I realized that the Evians of the world and the Peregrino and whatever, they all have too much calcium. So actually what I found is that the best water that worked for me was a no brand, store brand type of water from Waitrose, and it has 17 milligrams of calcium per liter. So I just buy that very cheap one. I buy it in the 2-liter bottle, or sometimes if I'm in a hurry, I buy it in the small ones, and that's what I use to mix my Maurten. So how I started is that I would mix that. It takes some time for it to dissolve. Then it becomes a bit viscous. Once you have that liquid, you can either have it before your run or during your run. And what I would do is that I would actually mix it and start sipping it before my run. Then I do all my warming up, etc., while still sipping it, and I pour whatever is left into my flask, and then I go for my run and I sip it for hydration over my run. And I did that for about a month, and it worked just well for me. And the stomach is a muscle that you can train, and so my next objective, as I was doing more and more effort, was to just start training my stomach so that I can actually eat some food. So I started having porridge, the most boring thing ever, but just having porridge first thing in the morning with some black coffee to help with my bowel movement. And then I would wait 2 hours to go for a run. What it meant is that then I had to schedule my runs for when I worked from home, because then what I would do is I would wake up, I would do that whole breakfast thing, I would do a couple hours of work, and then I would start stretching, I would go and do my run and come back. If I had to commute to the office, that's 45 minutes in, 45 minutes out, that's already an hour and a half of my day that is just spent commuting. So if it was a work from home day, I would use that 90 minutes that I would have used for commuting for my run, pre-run stretch, post-run stretch, and shower, and it would still be within the hour and 30 minutes, because you know it's a bit at the time my runs were a bit shorter than they are now. So I did that. but I still found that the porridge thing was unsustainable. Obviously it would be just one run a week or maybe 2 runs a week that I do that when I'm working from home, and then I would do 2 runs on the weekend. So I would run both Saturday and Sunday, in which case I could actually afford to wake up and do my porridge thing, and whether I run at 10 or I run at 12, it didn't matter because I anyway had my weekends to do all of that. So that was, the weekend runs were actually a very good way for me to train myself. And then my objective after that was I wanted to shorten the time that it took me from when I ate my porridge to when I actually go out. So I started experimenting and shortening it little by little, and then I found 2 things. If I drink a lot of water while waiting for my food to digest, that actually helped me digest quite a lot faster. And so I managed to very quickly cut the time from 2 hours to 1 hour. And then the second thing I have noticed is that because before the run you should do dynamic stretching, I realized that as I did my dynamic stretch, it kind of helped with my bowel movement, and so I didn't have any more of that anxiety. And so basically I became a 1 hour type of person from the moment I eat to the moment I leave the door, and that actually saved a lot of time because then it meant that I could go on runs more frequently, especially during the weekdays. So that was that. Then after a couple months I got super bored with porridge. I have a thing with textures where I really want something, I don't like to just eat something super mushy. So I found a porridge from Dalesford that actually has some seeds in it, but the problem is that whenever you introduce texture or fiber, etc., there is a bit of a risk. But I tested it on non-running days and then it works well, and then I started alternating between normal porridge and porridge with seeds, just so that I don't get bored with the texture. Always with the coffee, I always wait for my bowel movement and then I go. Now today was the first time that I tried having a non-porridge breakfast, and it's just a baguette. Again, it doesn't really have any, much fiber or anything like that. The complicating factor is that it has a bit of butter, and I think that having spent a few months now training my stomach, I can stomach the butter without having an issue. But one of the things that helped me was I actually tried to locate where restrooms would be, and that psychologically gives me that you're fine. The worst case, you're gonna stop and go to the loo. So for example, I run a lot in Battersea Park, and funny enough, I've been running there for months, but it's only a couple of months ago that I started really actively looking for where the loos are, and I have located them and I have tested them and I know that they're clean. And so I've been living here for more than 5 years, and I only thought there is one loo, and it was in the middle of something, and that's the one that I have gone to with my sister whenever we walked or whatever. But then when I started running and I started running the same loop, I know at least 2 loos, and I have tested both of them that are different from that one, and they're on my running route. So just that psychologically makes me feel really relaxed. I've tried some runs in the city, and I do know that I have stress because I'm like, what if I need to stop, etc., etc. But that's just something to keep in mind while you're training your stomach, that it's always good to have a plan B. So that's about the food. Now let's get into all the non-real food items that I use either before, during, or after. And for that, I'm gonna take you to my drawer, walk you through what's in it, and explain how I use each thing. And then I will let you know, when it comes to my fueling strategy, what I do for every type of run. So I'm gonna flip you here, and this is effectively my running drawer. As I said, I don't really have much space, so basically wherever I have storage space, I will use it. Now this is what I have for my run today, but if I show you what I have here, this is the cover for my earphones, and this is the cover for my glasses, both of which are here. These are just some running caps. I have one of them here that I'm gonna wear today, an extra running belt, some cups, some lifting gloves, some extra hydro flasks. So, and this is just moisturizing stuff. But then if I get rid of that and like all the anti-chafing things, I'm testing various anti-chafing things, and I'm gonna do a video about my essentials for running, but I've tested quite a few just because I wanted to make sure that I have something that works for me. But then everything else is nutrition. So starting here, what we have the Maurten drink mix, we have the 320, and I should have some 160 left from somewhere here, I would hope. Yes, 160. The 160 and 320 refers to the calories that you have. The carbs are different. This one has 40 grams of carbs and 80 grams of carbs. And knowing the carb content is very important when you're fueling, because that's effectively what you're using for energy as you're running. Now, for the first few months, I was just using the 160 because this is the standard one that you use. This is really pushing the limit as to how much fuel you take in. But this, I would normally have, as I said, I start sipping before a run and then continue during. So that's for anything that is under, I would say, 45 minutes. Then on runs that were longer than 45 minutes, and if it were hot, I would just put this in a hydro flask, and that's what I would be sipping. And then as I started going to very long runs, we're thinking 2 hours type of runs, which I have stopped doing. I've only done like 3 or 4 of those, and then I stopped because I had gotten sick. So I'm now currently rebuilding my stamina. But when I was doing those long runs, I would actually instead start sipping this, which is the exact same taste as the 160, but more viscous. And the Maurten drinks they're like viscous sugar water. They have absolutely no taste to them, which I don't really mind. But obviously if you're doing a trail or something that is over multiple hours, you might get bored of that no taste. But I would use that. I think it's quite potent. I do feel that I have a lot more energy when I'm drinking this, and it's just better than sugar water, because I have tried almost everything. But so that's what I would have. I was also trying various other drinks because I'm trying to see what are alternatives to Maurten. This is a brand called Vume. It's supposed to have the same type of servings, so in terms of carbs, and also in terms of ratio. So for example, this 1 to 0.8 is just a result of a study that was done many years ago about what is the right mix of maltodextrin and fructose. But few brands use that, including obviously Maurten. So you have Maurten, you have Vume, SiS Beta Fuel also use that ratio. It's just one study, but then people just caught onto that. I haven't used the unflavored ones. They're supposed to be similar to the Maurten, although I don't think that they're using hydrogels, but I have used the flavored version of that, and I think it was a welcome break from something that is not, that has no taste. And the flavor wasn't too bad, but I would say, just because I'm not very big on flavoring, I still prefer to use the Maurten, though I haven't used this for ages. So that's the Maurten. I have also gotten something called Tailwind. Tailwind is one of the older brands. This is a special edition from with the Walter. That's a ultra runner. And this one is watermelon with lime. Again, like I said, I'm not a big fan of flavoring, etc. But I thought, I will give it a shot. It's naturally flavored. It doesn't have any colorant, so actually it's a transparent fuel. And this one has quite a lot of electrolytes, so it has more electrolytes than the Maurten, because the Maurten one, that's one of the criticisms that people have of the brand, is that they don't have much electrolyte, which is very important, especially if you sweat. So what I did is that I started using that whenever I know I'm going for a long run and I'm going to get bored, because you do get flavor fatigue. So I would have that I would start sipping part of it, and then have the rest in my hydro flask. I kind of like it. I didn't have any stomach issues, and yeah, so that's what I'm saying, when you have to just train your stomach little by little. Then I never wanted to have gels, but I also realized that carrying the hydro flask is something that is quite heavy. It doesn't always work for me. So I started experimenting with things like the SiS Beta Fuel. These are some chews. They have 46 grams of carbs. I love this. And actually they are flavored. This is an orange flavored one, and I really like them. I would never have thought that I would do that, but I don't like the gel texture, and this is actually more of a very tough jello texture. And when you eat it, it feels like a very welcome snack. And they're pretty soft. I might show you one of them when it's open. So I really started enjoying this, and I have noticed that when I do speed work, which I've only ever started doing about a couple of weeks ago, but when I do speed work, because I'm anything but fast, I feel like it really knocks me out. And so it's helpful for me to have to chew on these sometime during the exercise. Then after I found that I'm really doing well with the SiS Beta Fuel, I finally jumped into the motherload of Maurten gels. Now, Maurten gels do not have that gooey texture that you have in other gels, so at least that's something worth keeping in mind, because I don't think I can do well with the gels. And these are gels that you can actually have without needing to drink water afterwards, because they already have the hydrogel, which is kind to your stomach. There is a normal version and there is a caffeinated version, and also for their drinks they have a caffeinated version, but I don't have it simply because I do have coffee in the morning. So this one is just pure carbs, and this will give you 25 grams of carbs, so it's not as intense as this one. And I've had this. I think it's good because it's very thick, so actually once you cut this bit, you can still consume it while running, and you feel like you're chewing on something versus just having some goo going down your throat. The caffeine one is something that I would have towards the end of my session. It has a slight bitterness because this just tastes like sugar, similar to their drinks. This one has a tiny bit of bitterness. You do feel the bitterness from coffee, but you don't actually get a coffee flavor. You just get the bitterness. And I think that it works well. So I have started using these. And what else do I have? I have, this is called Elite Electrolyte. This is just electrolytes, very concentrated. They don't have sugar, so it's actually good for diabetics. They don't have any flavoring. Basically, you could even cook with this if you wanted. And you just put a few drops in a bottle of water, and that's actually, and you're good to go. And by the way, everything that I use is suitable for informed sport. Not that I actually am a high elite sports person, but I like that. A couple last things I wanted to show as my battery is dying is this Precision Hydration Electrolyte. This is what I started with, that I mentioned before, but I will finish it and not repurchase it just because I don't like the format of it. And then I have some salt tablets here. So these are salt tablets from Precision Hydration. These are capsules, and I have a massive tub from Salt Stick of these electrolyte tablets. Okay, my battery is flashing. I'm gonna go and do some stretches, and then I'll come back later. Right, so I'm just back from my run. As I was doing my cool down, my friend called me. He said he had pastries because he also just finished his cycle. So we just met up at my place. I had a massive cinnamon bun and some tea. He had cookies and chocolate brownie. And that's the typical binge that you have right after doing something that is very high cardio. So that's effectively what we did. Now, to round off the video, I thought I would also show you other things that I eat. So one of the things I take is whey protein isolate. I can't do the normal protein shakes or protein whatever that the people have. I just don't like that. I didn't even bother trying. I think I once tried half of a grenade bar and I just couldn't stomach it. But the whey protein isolate still gives me the protein that I need if I've done a very, very long run. And that's the thing, I will not use that for every session. I will only use it if my run was more than an hour and a half and I know that I have some micro tears in my muscles. Other things I take are, let me show you. The brand I use is HealthSpan Elite. This is clear whey protein isolate. This was developed in collaboration with the All Blacks. Again, it's one of those brands that are meant for high performance athletes. It has an informed sports type of label. Again, I'm not an elite professional, but anyway. And then the other thing that I started taking is the Joint Physio glucosamine and chondroitin or something like that, whatever. This is for joints, and the reason for that is, which is also part of the reason why I took up running, is that I used to have some joint issues. I used to have some inflammation, and I've been really working on strengthening my joints. That's why I've been trying on working on various surfaces. I've been trying to do a bit of strength exercise. I've been trying to do some stretching, but other than that, I've been also supplementing with this. Again, it's from the same brand. I will leave my link below down in the comments. But I just feel that with this, I started having a lot less inflammation. I think I take it maybe 5 or 6 times a week. The only reason why I skip a couple is just because I simply forget. But I really like the routine that I have going on right now, and I think it's all the products, etc. I've taken my time to do a lot of research. I think this is one of the things referred to as déformation professionnelle, because obviously I'm a consultant. My job is to figure out all the minutiae about things and then make an informed decision. And I do feel that for my nutrition and for all my sports related stuff, I've done so much research and I've experimented. And again, like with a lot of the videos that I make, this is a video I'm making because I wish somebody had made it. And obviously it's a funnier alternative name to the video would be, I spent my money on nutrition so you don't have to. But yeah, I do think now I have something that works for me and I'm very happy about it. I wanted to have a quick segment in the middle of this video, just in case you don't want to hear the long story. So I just give you my program for nutrition depending on the type of runs that I do. And I will also write down this in more detail in the description box. So different types of runs. If I have a long run, something that is over 90 minutes, what I would do is I will eat a proper breakfast, and that breakfast will most certainly have porridge, one of 2 types of porridge that I typically have, just so that I don't get bored. And I will have a banana and I will have black coffee. All that will be at least 30 minutes to 45 minutes before I even start thinking about leaving the door. In that period, I will also do quite a bit of activation. It's just a few movements, mostly hip openers because I have tight hips. And during that period of doing that activation and waking up and getting dressed and all that, I will be sipping Maurten 320. That's the hydrogel. Whatever is left from that hydrogel, I will put in my hydration pack, and I will have that on 1/2. Then the second hydro flask in my hydration vest will have an electrolyte water. So it will be Elite with some water, or if I feel like having something a bit with some flavor, I might use something else. But that will be the 2 things that I have in the front of my vest. In the back, what I will have will be some nutrition, and my plan would be, as I start going for the run, I sip some of the Maurten as I start my run. Then 30 minutes I will have a first gel that will be a normal gel. Following 30 minutes I will have an SiS Beta Fuel chew, and this one is an orange, because an hour into my run I'm starting to feel very fatigued from having just a sugary drink, and I'm starting to feel a bit peckish and I'm a bit bored and I'm tired, and why am I doing this? So it just feels like a snack and it's a pick-me-up. Then the following 30 minutes, I will have a caffeine gel from Maurten. This one again doesn't have a taste, it's slightly bitter, but whatever kick I need, I will have in that last 30 minutes. Anything in between or beyond that will simply be liquid nutrition. So it will be whatever I have left of the Maurten, and I'm not gonna eat anything else because I do feel like I can still go off of my glycogen and glucose, my glucose reserves. After that, I don't eat anything because I will never go more than 2.5 hours ever. So usually my long run is a couple hours long and that's it. Any run that is under an hour, so that would be my progression run, an easy run, something that has an easy run with a few strides in between, I will only have one Maurten 160 or the Tailwind liquid, where I would have drunk a little bit and put the rest on my hydro flask, and one gel. It could be either one gel from Maurten or it could be one SiS Beta Fuel if I feel like there is a bit of intensity work. The Maurten is if it's a progression run or an easy run. If I have some strides or something where I need an outburst, I would rather go with the 46 grams of carbs over the 25 grams of carbs. So that's the in-between. If I have to do speed work, I will take 2 Beta Fuels. It doesn't matter how often, how long the speed work is. That's effectively when you have to work for a certain paces. I will actually eat that whenever I feel like I'm about to bonk or just before a very strong effort. And that's the reason why I will have 2, because I'd rather have a backup than not have anything at all, which has happened to me, and that's how I developed that process. So we know what I do for under an hour, we know what I do for under an hour if it has a speed component, we know what I do for a long run that is over an hour and a half. Anything between 60 and 90 minutes is quite rare for me at this point, because it's either a long run or a session. But if I were for some reason to do something like that, I would probably stick with the speed type of nutrition, because I feel that I would anyway be able to still go the 30 extra minutes even if I didn't fuel. Hydration is important though. For the electrolytes, usually the electrolyte is what I have on the right side of my hydration vest, but I still will always carry 1 or 2 capsules just in case. Up to now, I still have never had I've never had a cramp while running, and I don't think I will have one because I do really focus on electrolytes, but you never know. Sometimes you have such high heat that you just sweat in bucket and you cannot hydrate enough. But usually when I know it's going to be very hot, I will overhydrate the night before. This is a bird's eye view of all the fueling I use that is not real food. So we have fuel drinks, hydrogel drinks from Maurten. We have gels that are very thick, so it's not the gooey stuff. We have chews, and we have something that is between this and this, in that it is flavored, it has electrolytes, etc, etc. That's for fueling. For electrolytes, I have Elite, which has no sugar, nothing, and is the cleanest form, at least from what I have found. I have these capsules, which are easy to take if you were to do a race or something like that, because they don't take up space. I have them from Precision Hydration, but I also have them from Salt Stick, which is, I mean, the original. Then I have this Precision Hydration tablets. They also have some sugar in them, and they have, I think, a black currant type of flavoring, which is why I don't like it as much. And then I have this Womb Smart Formula, which has some zest, but there is that, and plain old salt. I tend to salt my food quite a lot anyway, but yeah. And then for the final supplements, I have the whey protein isolate, which I only take after very big efforts, and the physio joint physio supplements, which I try to take every day anyway.